Alright guys, I'm back. So last time I think where I left off was I wanted to figure out how I want to get this water powered saw going. So let's just get on that right away. I lost my train of thought. This was actually, I took a full break because I realized it's like an hour and a half of recording and I probably editing it. While I work in the water powered saw, let me talk about how much I hate recording and editing things. So apparently, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole entire business of YouTube Let's Plays or whatever, but apparently, oh my god, it's a pain because you have to, like, your workflow is you get the video, you record it, right? And then once you're done recording it, you have to edit it. And I didn't realize how much more painful it was to edit than it is to just record or do everything else. It's not even that labor intensive, to be honest. You could probably just have your Let's Play going on in the background, but you really want to remove areas where I think there are dead space, and because obviously, like, the end product, I mean, I don't put a lot of value on editing videos, as you can see by the janky ass job that I did in my first episode. But I mean, you could still take a look at it, right? Because that episode, the raw footage was like hour and 48 minutes, and to be honest, I only really used up, where's my mallet? And I only ended up taking out like what? I ended up only taking out 8 minutes out of that. Like, the raw was like a 1 hour 48 minutes and the total video time was like 1 hour 38 minutes. So I'm just like, oh my god, I have to sit here through an hour and 48 minutes listening to myself repeating the same gameplay over and over. And I don't know how long I could keep that up. So in the future, maybe unless I find a better workflow, I'll try and figure out something else. Also, rendering took a while too. Like, damn, like, rendering that thing took, my computer was, it was pretty slow. It took like almost an hour to render it. So I need to figure out workflows for all that kind of jazz. Tuna fish sandwich. Okay. Alright, so I have that. Time to make the saw blade. And wooden pressure plates. Alright. Easy enough. So, I guess one cool thing is about the water powered saw is that it's a nice, interesting challenge to automate early on. The response that I've seen so far from other players is that they really like the aesthetic of it. Funny story, when I was talking with Vadis, the dev of Primotech was actually made specifically for SevTech, but it's nice to see. We thought it was a good enough mod for the most part, minus this craft tweaker support. That's a whole other mess I don't even want to come close to touching. But aside from its craft tweaker support, it like, aesthetically the mod is great. Like, look at this, right? Especially when you put running water over it. It has good animations. Oops. Overall, it was a pretty solid mod. Plus, there was an early bug on in the pack. If you put an item inside the water-powered saw, it would actually strip its NBT. And if I do this, right? So you see all that NBT data on the GregTech tool. That determines the tool stats. And it's the same thing with Tinker's construct tools. But you could basically put the saw and it would reset to whatever the default value is. And guess what? The default value for GregTech tools, if I just look up GregTech tools, whoopsies, that default value is aluminum, right? So you would automatically get aluminum flint axis. Like, it would be, that was definitely not an intended interaction. That was very, very game breaking for reasons you could probably figure out why. So we had him put up an update, thank god, right before the pack went out. So that helped us quite a bit. Now, so I'm gonna do a really small automation for this one. It's actually gonna require 2 ice blocks, 2 water source blocks. One is going to power the saw, and the other one's actually going to move the saw off the top. Once again, you can see I'm a fan of just smaller, more compact levels of automation. And also, we're going to need about 2 chests, 2 wooden hoppers, you know, to handle the buffer input and the buffer output. So once again, that's going to require saws. And guess what? Once we get this water-powered saw, no more saws needed. Hey, we can finally get rid of this. Well, for the most part, we won't need saws. Maybe if I want to make barrels and stuff, we'll still need saws. So we're going to need 2 of these trapdoors. Oh boy. Oh boy. How's this saw doing? How's this saw doing? Not so good. These saws aren't doing so hot. Man, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of flack in the comments. Well, no. First of all, I'm not gonna get a lot of flack in the comments because I don't think anyone will watch this in the first place. Second of all, if I do, people do comment and give me a lot of flack about it, about the saws. Look, I also kind of went overboard with the strainers and the setups and the chests because, you know, I made a wooden hopper for each strainer. And to be honest, look how, like, this isn't even close to being filled, right? This is completely empty. So some of these chest storage was completely optional. That could have been storage put elsewhere. You know, it's just, and I think I'm okay with that philosophy, is that if you want to go overboard, right, with your infrastructure, there should be a little bit of additional costs associated with it, because, or in hindsight, you could just, you know, rush towards the water powered saw and then work out your infrastructure because it gives you such a better benefit for wood processing. Okay, but as I said that, I should shut my mouth and just make more saws in the meantime. I'm like trying to defend myself. Yeah, it's okay to make saws as I am forced to make more saws in the background. It's a funny world. Alright, and you know what? I can also toss these suckers in here as well. Alright. So now let's make a wooden hopper. 2 of these, and then we'll make 2 more chests. How many? So I need 8 more planks. Cool with that. I only need 6 more planks, actually. I can't even count. Alright, perfect. And then this has the water powered saw in it as well. Alright, this inventory, let's clean it out a little bit first. Alright, and we're gonna put the water powered saw automation right here. Like I said before, I think it's gonna be pretty simple. What you want to do is you want to start off with the output chest. So let's put it far away so it doesn't burn. Well, actually, it's a chest anyway. Chests don't burn. So this is the wooden hopper Mark II is gonna go here. We're going to have the water source block flowing underneath here, and then we're gonna put the water powered saw on top. Heyo. Then we're actually going to put another ice source block on top of that, and that's what that's going to do, is that because the output of the saw is going to be dropped on top of the saw block itself, we'll have this water block just run down into this hopper here. It'll make sense, I promise. So once again, we're going to rely on our handy dandy spruce strips. Beautiful. Okay, and more strips. Awesome. Oh, this already melted. I didn't even see that coming. Okay, so this is melting, and then this is spinning that way. You know what? I'm trying to think if I can get an even more compact setup going, but I'm happy with this. So now we'll do is we'll put this hopper facing, because I just want to make this like in a 2x2, right? So we'll put the hopper like this, and we'll put it like that. And if you just saw, the strip just got inserted into the wooden powered saw. Didn't want that. So now we can control the water flow here, here we go. Here we are, and this should stop. There we go. Clean up the water flow a little bit. Now this is the input chest, and now this is the ice chest. So if we break this, dirt goes back in there, and now the water should flow down and clean this up. Perfect. So this is what? This is 2 by 3 by 3 tall. So I guess other people could probably find a way to, like, if I could just have the, if I had the water flow the other direction, it would be smaller. But I mean, you know, it's a work of art. Interpret it how you want. So what's gonna happen is gonna take the water powered saw, it's gonna drop the planks on top, and then it's gonna carry the planks down onto here. Now sometimes what you have to be careful is that the water, it can occasionally jam, or not jam, but you might not actually get planks, because if you put spruce wood planks back again into the water powered saw, you can get sticks right here. So an alternate it's very unlikely for that to happen though, because A, you have a wooden hopper feeding this back into it, and B, this water normally flows fast enough for it to hit the wooden hopper. But you could technically make it go faster by moving the wooden hopper up one. So instead of down here, and instead of the output planks falling down a little bit before it gets washed off, you could just move the wooden hopper up one. But I'm not too concerned about that. If I get some occasional sticks or whatever, it works as it is. Now, that was actually way easier than setting up all these dumb... See, look, order of operations, guys. If you're going to do this again in hindsight, let me tell you, just set up the water-powered saw first. Requires way less hoppers, requires way less chests. In fact, all you really need is one kiln, so after your first 8 clay, just make the water-powered saw blade. Alright, what's next? So now that I'm getting easier planks, I don't have to deal with saws anymore. Let's go back, check up on how our seeds are doing. Ooh, got a little bone. Some bone action. This is such a dumb quest name. So Farm Dog Bone. I think I was streaming. I told this story like a dozen times now. So if you've been following me for any amount of time, you're probably just like, oh my god, this story again. But basically, it's an inside joke. I was streaming quest making, and I was quite inebriated. I guess that's the nice way of putting it. Well, not inebriated. No, it was a nice little drunk. It was a good level of. I was good tipsy. Why is this? How much do I have left in this one hopper? I have 4 of these. Okay, whatever. But yeah, as I was saying, right. I was a little bit tipsy, and I was, I think I just mistyped. I was typing finding a bone, because it was supposed to be like, oh, like a dog finds a bone home or whatever, because it's a dog and a bone. It was a really, like, more shitty quest puns, like really stretching the limit there. And I just mistyped it so badly, and then I mistyped it again in the melter. I don't know why I said I wanted to find a melter. I just thought it was funny, so we just kept it, and apparently it made it all the way to production. So there you go. That's the great story about this pack's history. I need some gravel and some sand. Get some grout going. And you see me, I'm just like willy-nilly just taking wholesome stacks out of the melter. That's on purpose. I mean, out of the EMC table. I mean, once again, parallelization is key. You know, you don't want to just... You want to... It's better to do it right than do it twice, right? That's the big thing. Even though you might not know ahead of time, like, oh, how much am I going to need? It'll take iterations because this is my first time playing the pack, right? So I don't blame you for that. But usually a good rule of thumb is that if you don't know how much you need, try to overmake rather than undermake. Most of the time, you will be paid off in this pack. In fact, we do try our best to reward players who choose to overmake rather than undermake. Alright, and now let's work on the meatiest part, because the arcane ashes is just as important in the void world, just as the kilns are in terms of a processing byproduct. Because what we wanted to do is we wanted to introduce players like early forms of magical crafting, because thematically, right? I mean, in the end, this is like a manual form of crafting. It's basically the equivalent of using that stone anvil, right? You just right-click something a bunch of times with durability. But thematically, this is this has a cool factor, right? I don't really know the best way to describe it, but thematically, it's just, you know, it's just a form of magical crafting. That's the best way, in my opinion, to describe it. Alright, so get some seared bricks. I don't even know why. I think I need these seared bricks later on when I want to make the actual porter block. I think that's the big one, as well as the melter. So we want 4 of these. Sure, some for the controller down the line, but I'm pretty sure... Oh, interesting. What's the deal with the overworld portal blocks? I thought we required seared stone for it. Oh, block seared. Whoopsie daisies. So that's going to be way more bricks then. But as for the arcane ashes, they're a pretty easy get. So let's show you what we got here. You need blackened bone meal. In fact, it also requires GregTech ashes, which is kind of funny because this should actually be ordicted to normal ash, I think. Dust ash. How many dust ashes do we have in the pack? Oh, I guess all the other ones were stripped. Okay. Low covalence dust is not the big one if you have experience. That's also the reason why I'm cooking up in so many kilns and also started a farm. Hopefully get some of that sweet, sweet lotus seeds. Lotus seeds right there, because that's how you can get the experience. So let's set that up. I guess I'll jam more worms into you. I'll jam my worm into you, baby. And my lotus seeds. I mean, should I just, yep, rice seeds. Rice seeds are big. I don't really care about pumpkin or garlic. And cucumber, no. Chamomile is kind of nice, just for crafting reasons. And then we don't have any apples. Apples is another big one that I actually do want to score. The main reason why is you can make apple sprouts later on, and apple sprouts is just really, really good fruit bait. Yeah, that's interesting. How about this? Let's plant the rest of the sugar cane, which also grows to world height. I'm not sure if I told you that yet. And let's also start planting some seeds and rice seeds. So, like I said, this one is vanilla mechanics. The more tilled land that you have and the less crops that you have in between, the faster something grows. That's just how the vanilla mechanic works. You could easily 100% easily take what's the best way to word? You could easily just plant it all, and actually that's the thing, right? In terms of surface area, in terms of grind time, because there's no really automatic, not many, or I guess there is automatic ways to farm in vanilla, but I mean most of the time, most players is that they'll just let something grow, chunk load it, AFK it for a while, and harvest it. That's why it's, you see most players commonly just max out the surface area because they'll do one large batch craft. But if you really want something to grow fast, plant it in a line, surround it by as much tilled land as possible and as few crops as possible, up to a certain point. I mean, I could technically do this, right, for all of them, but rose is just the simplest one. It's just, I actually think, I'm not even sure if the benefit goes away after a certain while. So someone quote me on that. But yeah, as you can see, there's growth already at 14. You know, the seeds just grow faster. Once again, these are vanilla mechanics. So I see people occasionally in the Discord talking like, why is my thing not growing? What's taking so long? Did crop growth get halved? And by the way, yes, crop growth did get halved in this pack for some of the early starter crops. So that's another one, and more incentive to plant like this early on. And I don't know, some players may not be aware of it early on. Well, now you're aware of it. So deal with it. I mean, that was poorly put. That was poorly put in hindsight. Like, I'm going through my head right now. I was like, oh man, how can I recover this? This is not sounding very good anymore. And I think I'm just gonna stick to my guns and just say like, oh, come on, guy. Like, you can do better than that. Where's my dirt? Alright, and then I will probably make up another area here for the, if I'm just, you know, farming trees generically. That's just what I'll do. So I'll cut a little bit and then I'll come back to you guys after I fill out this other chunk. Okay, and we're good here. Look at that, pretty. Oh, I also want to plant cotton seeds here and more sugar cane. You know what? What am I doing? Let's just let's try it this way. Actually, it's still hindsight. I mentioned this last time and it's just coming to me now. I don't know how sugarcane treats its growth ticks. Like, does it also require tilled land? Because you can't actually plant it. You can't, or maybe you can't plant on tilled land. But I know that traditional crops, you know, get a bonus from tilled land or irrigated and tilled land. That's actually the big one, and that's another reason why those AA worms are just so effective early on, just because aside from the occasional bone meal effect, when players don't irrigate their land and it breaks, they'll have tilled unirrigated land that doesn't provide the bonus growth to crops. So kind of wild, right? Oh, well, there we go. Got my experience, got my infinity dust. That was easy. And look at that, that was like 5 levels. Easiest infinity dust in the world, right? Okay, so let's just get that with a tiny charcoal and a saw and sand. I think the tiny charcoal I had here, right? Yeah, I did. Or low grade charcoal becomes tiny Here we go. And here we go. Let's see. I think it wanted 4 as well for each of these. And I mean, really, Infinity Dust doesn't have that much of a use early on aside from making just low covalence dust. So convert everything you have into low covalence dust, which is not enough anyway. Alright, so I'm going to take these 3 spruce. Here, let's put that there, and we'll cook the rest of these. Alright. Let's also put our nets here. What I want to do as well is down the line, I always want these to have running. In fact, you know, one thing you'll see me is I'll try to upgrade my strainers all the time, and you might think that, oh, like, what's the point, because you'll just get bait. It's the clay. Clay is the key here. Clay will eventually downline provide you aluminium, right? Yes, I'm American, but I still pronounce it as aluminium, just because that's how it's spelt out. But clay electrolysis, when you hit MV era, it gives you silicon, it gives you sodium, it gives you lithium, and it also gives you water if you want that. But this is the key, what you want. You can get it from bauxite as well. Bauxite's fine, and in fact, it's also recommended you also get it from bauxite, because when you want to get it from bauxite, you let me see if I can find it here. Huh. That's also a glitch, that 141 item stack electrolysis. That should actually be fixed with the zeolite. Interesting. Bauxite. Why you do this to me, man? Yeah, so you get 16 aluminium from 39 bauxite, and you also get 2 rutile, which is important later on when you want to be processing for titanium tetrachloride, which will get you your titanium ingots down the line. But once again, silicon, easy, and aluminium, even a better bonus. And also because even when I'm in like MV, I start using aluminium cables as my main form of cabling, just because it's so abundant, and you want to save your copper for all crafting or for cables for crafting and so forth. Oh. All right. Now, get this low-grade charcoal out of the way. Let's get you out. Get you out. Oh, well, you're not good enough to get out. Ah, the saws strike again. How much do I need? I need about this times 4, so 32. So I need 14. So take these 7, because it's, you know, 2 each, and let's also make a couple more saws. Man, you know, maybe I should have just made some more hammers, or switched some of these recipes to be using hammers and saws. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So now let's go get that covalence dust. Right, fam? Yeah. Okay, so that's 64 covalence dust. The biggest use for this is, once again, making arcane ashes, because arcane ashes enable a lot of things. Better building wands, and this is, I'm not a really big fan how I originally had this set up, and in fact we had a little bit of a discussion. By discussion, by that I mean Sarith, one of the other lead devs, got kind of annoyed at me because I just wanted to like remove redundancies in the oh, the vivid grass is spreading. You know what, I'll choose to have normal grass on here instead of vivid grass. So it's a fight. But basically, I was just like, better builder swans. We have so many redundant things with better builder swans. I guess the one thing that you can't guarantee replacing 100% hardcore is the unbreakable one, the one which puts down like 4,000 blocks at a time. But aside from that, early on, it's just, it's, no one ever uses the fucking, I mean, I guess some people use a stone wand or the diamond wand, but it's just like, we're not going to give them access to that early on, because thematically it's just weird if you give them diamonds early on. So, and we already have this extra utilities builders wand. So we you know, I brought it up, and I was kind of stubborn about it. And I think to a point where he got annoyed, but you know, when you work in a team, it's good to have compromise. This pack was, you know, I guess there was one big thing. this pack, when I said earlier in my first episode how it was kind of like Forge, where it was like cheap hacks, clever solutions, there's one other thing that separates it from Forge. It's cheap hacks, clever solutions, and compromises. Lots of compromises were made in development of this pack because there were very certain times that Sarah and I had different ideals of what that pack should look like. So we kept like going back and forth on that. But more specifically, this one, I wanted to remove Better Builder's Wands just because I thought it was completely redundant and completely unnecessary. And what we did was, you know, so we just moved the extra utilities builder's wand really early, and it just basically covalence dust and stick. Then also because early on it's cyclic building scepter, which is basically a bone and obsidian, which I don't think is that expensive, but some people have called expensive, like because obsidian is 4k EMC. That's like 2 trees of shearing. Like it's not that bad. The bone comes free anyway once you get your strainers up and running. So I don't know. I still don't think it's that cheap. I mean, I also don't think that's expensive. And then lastly, you have the formation wand, which is basically like the builder's wand, but it builds towards you. And I personally like the formation wand over the better building wand, and I think they combine better to expand platforms. It's weird because I want to show you how you can combine them to expand platforms in the void, but I also actually don't plan to be living here that long. I want to eventually move my way into the overworld and set up a base there because, you know, back the previous times when I went through this pack all the way up to HV, I built it all 3 times in the void. So for my own sanity, I want to change that. Now, with that discourse aside, let's go figure out this arcane ashes, which is sugar and ashes and blackened bone meal, which is pretty easy to do. You need to take your bone and get bone meal out of it, which I'm pretty sure is a hammer and the yeah, motor. So let's get that. Oh, that's not enough stone. Cobble. So let's get the cobble out there, get that cooked up. Let's also, we already have 2 pieces of the mortar for it. Another one is trowel and bait, because I really do want to top off bait on the fisherman strainers. So let's get that. So trowel, which is basically stone, once again, and the tinker shovel. So that's going to be, yep. Actually, let's make, I can't recall if it uses the durability of the shovel. Let me find that out. So here we go. And like I said before, if you're going to make something and you have the ability to make more than one of it, you should probably do that. So we're probably going to make 2 mortar pestles here, which sucks because I should have used one of my stone. Oh, well, I'm cooking more. Whatever. Don't care. And I'm probably going to make 2 trowels as well. Let's slam the hammer here and cook this up. And get you here. Aha! So it does use a durability only. Excellent. So let's get 1 more stick. Where did my stick go, yo? Oh, here. Alright. So the reason why I did that... Oh, hey, a bunch of saws. It's like Christmas for me. The reason why I did that is because I want to get some dirt, and I just want to start vein mining and just getting bait. So I'm going to vein mine some dirt, get some bait. Oh, wait, no. I think proper, I was looking at this. Proper technique shows in Let's Plays that you show it once, and then you remove all the editing. Crazy, right? So I'll show this to you guys once, and then I'll edit it, and then I'll edit out the repetitions. Okay, guys, I loaded this thing up with a little bit of bait, and looks good. Just got a half stack of bait. Did something real quick. Let's store this back also inside the tool chest. Now, so let's get the bone. Get some bone meal out of it, and let's cook one of them. Oh, well, poor grout. what else do I need for the arcane ash? Covalence, dust, yep, and the sugar. And then the sugar should also just be similar. In fact, it's a little bit weird. This is just one of those Greg Tech things. We didn't want to change the recipe just because it would just be annoying to change all the recipes that are dependent on the shape crafting. But this only works in the 3x3 for some weird ass reason. Like if I try to get sugar out of it, it only works in the 3x3. It doesn't actually work in the 1x1. See, this works right here. Have it on the side, or not 1x1, but 2x2, right? And it doesn't work here in the 2x2, which is kind of mildly infuriating. We've gotten bug reports about that, but it's just we would have to change all the mortar pestle recipes for everything, and that's just not worth the effort. It's one thing. It's just one of those obscure Greg Tech mechanics you just have to, you know, hopefully get used to, even though it is unintuitive. And this arcane ash recipe, I don't remember how we came across it. I think we just like, all right, we just want them to do XYZ. We want them to do XYZ, and then and that's what they need for the arcane ashes, right? Just like, yeah, so they need to know how to get the Greg Tech motor done. They need to know and just have some ash, and looks good. Oh man. There wasn't like rocket science making this recipe. Actually, here's another thing. I don't want to really waste the ash on it, but oh yeah, and it also requires some water. So that also requires for me to make bucket to bring it in. You can also, I'm not even sure if you could use a bucket on that. That's actually a good question. Ooh, look at that. Now we're getting that cotton to pay off. This Pam's cotton. Ooh. I still haven't made that arcane ashes because I'm waiting for that stupid bucket to cook. Alright, we're good. We're good. Let's get that ice down. Perfect. Oh yes, arcane ashes. Now these are juicy. There's a reason there's a lot of, you know, arrows lead out of it once again. In fact, this is actually bad, this dirt task. So long story short, Latvian's still working on it. Latvian is the developer of FTB quests, but this dirt task, it's because it asks, I feel so bad and so dumb. I should really fix this. It asks you to make a bucket of liquid dirt, and then it eats it right away. Because if you see, there's a couple of ways to do quote unquote fluid tasks. The most obvious one is the chemicals tab, where we ask you to do buckets because buckets are just easy. But in hindsight, in the perfect world, it shouldn't care if it's a bucket. It should be like, oh, is it a clay bucket? Is it a Greg Tech fluid cell, or is it a normal bucket, or do you have it in a portable tank? Having that in your inventory should be able to detect it. The only way to do that is to do a fluid task. The downside is that it consumes the fluid. So that's why I converted this one to do as an experiment and a test, and haven't converted it back, even though it takes like 2 clicks. But really, that's why we left these as buckets right now, and we're trying to figure out a better way, because it's also annoying, man, because it's just like Radon. Radon's a pain in the ass to make. You get 50 millibuckets about it, right? Even though you already have this system set up to make it. And we're going to ask you to bucket it out, which is kind of a pain in the butt. It's a pain, I'm telling you. And I don't want to really ask the players to do that when they're... So I was even at one point thinking, oh, maybe they should do checkmark quests. But then Sarith brought up a point that, oh, he's afraid that players would just, you know, checkmark this shit all day and not really read. Which in my opinion, I don't really care, because that's kind of the players screwing themselves over when we try to, you know, obviously document for them. But at the same time, the end decision was just, you know, making them just bucket it all out. You know, screw them. Just have them bucket it. Alright, so I have the arcane ashes, and this is why the arcane ashes are sweet, man, because it's an early form of crafting. Right? Like, look how cool this is. You don't need to make these many arcane circles early on, and this also has durability, so try not to go too crazy with it. For me, I guess they make nice decoration. That's the best way I could describe it. Okay, so but what we're going to be using them for is let's make that building wand, right? So let's just get a stick in here, and let's just throw the covalence in it. So arcane ashes right here is you throw in the low covalence dust and then you throw in the catalyst next, which is a bit weird because I think thematically I would have it differently, right? Because I think the stick should be the primary thing and then the dust should be the catalyst, right? Because you're transforming the stick with the use of dust. You're not really transforming dust with the stick. I mean, it's a minor like nitpick point, but you can read it from left to right. So you want to put the low covalence dust in, then you want to put the stick. And yes, textures are still work in progress, but you know, you can't get everything you want. Oh, look at that. See, and now my wheat's growing pretty fast. Once again, like, really want to urge it because I see a lot of people complaining, just like, oh my god, wheat doesn't grow fast at all. That you could literally time it inside this video of how fast the wheat grew. Just you gotta know your vanilla mechanics, man. Or girl, you know, girl if you're, or boy, child, or you know, if you don't identify with either. Let's put the rice here. Okay, so now they got a builder's wand, which is cool. I can expand the island, which is not really gonna do a lot for me because I want to move to the void world, but we can get curry rice. You know what, let's pack it in. And let's move the curry rice. Oh, one thing, this is just quality mod, right? Whenever you open up this inventory, it doesn't have that grayed out look, right? If you do JEI, it grays it out. If you open a chest, it grays it out. But this doesn't gray it out, so it's so trippy being in this menu or in this GUI without a grayed out screen. But anyways, now that we have arcane ashes, let's work on getting onto ground traps so we can get some beef. And let's also work on getting the Alchemy Condenser. So let's ground traps. Should be easy now since we have twine and the wood to support it. As you can see here, this is why I was making it earlier. I'm trying to figure out a good amount to do for the ground traps. Let's just make about 4 ground traps. No, let's do 5. 5. I'm feeling spicy. Not a big deal. So ground traps are kind of funny in how they work. They require grain bait. That's the primary one. Grain bait's pretty easy. Or they require multiple types of bait. In fact, if you look at the ground traps uses JEI, it shows you different types of bait going different types of produce. Grain bait's probably the juiciest one you want. There are other types of bait you can use, like fruit bait. And like I said earlier, if you have a lot of apples, because you got the cyclic apple sprouts going, you could get fruit bait. It's also good for eggs, leather, and this is one early way. Like it's really nice and easy to just automate the production of these twine, of these baits. So would always highly recommend if you have that ability to do so. Now, ground traps are kind of a little bit trippy at how they function. Let me demonstrate real quick. I feel like if I break this, I'm gonna die. Yep, I'm gonna die. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna automate these ground traps all the way. But as it says in the tooltip, they require vanilla dirt or grass on all sides. And another thing is that they must be placed on the same Y levels of grass and have access to at least 5 grass or dirt blocks. But how they detect the blocks is different from others. So let me show you here, right? It detects blocks in a cross pattern, so it ignores diagonals. So like it detects blocks like this in this cross pattern, and even though it needs 5 at minimum to operate, if it detects 8 total, you're good to go. That's how it operates fastest and most optimally. So what you want to do is that if I place this ground trap here, it would actually only be detecting. If I place the ground trap here, it would only detect this side, this dirt, these 2, and these 2. It'd only be detecting 6. It wouldn't be operating optimally, which is why I decided to put it 2 away. And this does mean that if you checkerboard them or if you place them next to each other, you are cutting off the possible sources of how they detect. So the best way to put them is in a pseudo checkerboard, kind of like this, right? That's the best way my Vice can do. And then move 2 away before you place the next one. And they can share grass. They can totally share grass or the dirt blocks. But you still want them, to operate in terms of 8 total. So this is like, one of the fastest ways that I can recommend you to place them. And then you want to move 2 away here before you place the others. And then you want to move 2 away again from this one before you place it. And there you go. That's how you place 6 of them. Easy peasy. So there's 6, and I have 28 of this ground trap, so that's like 4 in each. And you know it's so valid when you insert it and it consumes a grain bait almost immediately. That's how you know that it's working and in a valid location. That was kind of weird. When I put the grain bait in, it just like had a block flicker in and out. I'm not sure. Maybe in editing, I can confirm if that happened. I'm not sure if that's actually related to the ground trap detecting in world, or if it's just a random rendering issue. Okay. That looks good to me. And then this hasn't paid off anywhere at all, but once again, it's working. And it's funny now because I'm getting all this grain, all this wheat. And another thing is that we players early on, because they were just not only farming grain, they were also farming rice. We decided that, you know, rice is a type of grain, so you can also use rice in grain bait as well. So you can do that too. All right. So next up on the list is, you know what? I should just, why am I even bother harvesting the sugarcane? I'm like, I still have that mechanical habit of harvesting sugarcane every time you see it or you're near it, because it stops its growth at 3 blocks, but in this pack it doesn't. So just, you know, let it roam free, let it do whatever you want. Now, next up on the list is, let's put the dirt back, sand back, and the gravel cobble as well. We're gonna go over, throw some more grout in there, and we're also going to make some more chests. What I like to do is I like to store chests. Instead of organizing chests in one area, a centralized storage location, I'm a bit weirder. I like to store chests next to the area that it's relevant to. So I like to store my farming chests by my farm, my meat chests and, you know, agriculture chests by the ground traps. And if I ever decide to have a sugarcane chest, I'll probably store it by the sugarcane plants as well. Especially on a base this small. I just think it logically makes the most sense to me, even though you do waste some time running around. Yeah, so I'll just store it by the farm, and literally it's just, you know, it's not that hard. I'll just put it there. And then I'll just put this, I want to put it at a chunk border just because that's me being picky, but I guess I could just put it here. Sugarcane, and this will just contain all random agricultural stuff. More arcane ash shenanigans. So, have the ground trap. I guess I'm waiting on the raw beef now that the ground trap outputs before, but let's get started on the Alchemy Condenser before then, right? So this is just require bricks, clay bucket, and the terracotta. Obviously, if you don't know what the terracotta is, I bind it up earlier when I was fixing up the base. It says, oh man, I swear to God, I know there's a hole here, right? If I put, yeah, okay. So now this building one's gonna come in handy, huh? Look at that. Or not. Wait, yes it is. Oh no, it's not, because it doesn't. Oh man, it doesn't place at the half block slots as well. Oh, that's messed up, man. That's messed up. I mean, I guess I don't expect. It's really hard to expect a block to do that, I think. How do I want to do this? Okay, well there goes that terracotta. And I don't know if I addressed this in the first video, but like what happens, like, you know, oh, what happens if a player messes up and gets rid of all their terracotta, throws it into the void? Then they restart their island. Tough cookie. So far that hasn't come up yet. I think most players had the sensibility to go through the progress first and keep an eye on everything before just throwing away stuff on the island willy-nilly. Plus, you know, not gonna lie, the terracotta on the island just kind of just looks nice. So that's also been another deterrent to players completely demolishing the island and turning it into some weird cobblestone landscape. And I know I have more terracotta here somewhere. I didn't actually need this much. I think it just bothered me that I had random terracotta, you know, as borders within my crag rock cobblestone. So let's go here, take this out, and let's get our alchemic condenser. So that's going to require bricks, which requires some clay kiln cooking. And also we already have the clay bucket. And we have the terracotta and flint block. Awesome. So now let's look at the retorts. You know, I actually don't know what a retort does in... ooh, rice slime ball. Let's get that done as well. I actually don't know what a retort does in practice. Like, well, I guess I'm not an alchemist, so I really would have no idea what a retort does. But it's just, you know, that shows up in like video game alchemy brewing systems, like Elder Scrolls Morrowind, right? If you, oh no. Okay, so my biggest fear wasn't actually torches and fires going out. It was the arcane ashes getting washed away. That's why I got scared. But like if you go to Morrowind, right? It had that in the it had it I don't know. It was just there in Morrowind, and I had no idea what it was there for. Wait, is this rice slime ball any grain? Oh, it's crop rice. Okay, cool. This is 2 low-grade charcoal and lime terracotta. Okay, here we go. So just need 2 of these. Perfect. And this guy doesn't need to run a long time. It's a multi-block, and it's a pretty simplistic multi-block. You know, it never really bothered automating it. That's actually one thing I'm curious about, its automation capability, because it needs water, so you do need to pipe it, and it has multiple item slots, which I'm about to show you. Like, actually, in hindsight, like, what does the condenser even do? Like, I know it condenses, but what exactly does it, like, condense? Like, condensers, I don't know, the only condenser I could think of in modern Minecraft would be, like, the ones in Avaridia. Or, aren't condensers also part of refrigerators? Because it's part of that's what creates the cold air. So, I'm not really familiar with the terminology between what a condenser does and what a retort does. I'm assuming as part of the alchemy system, you know, it's there to make sure the right volume of air or the right heat is exposed, exact measurements and temperature. But yeah, like I said, you know, this is all coming from, like, I'm assuming what they do as part of video game knowledge context. It's like the equivalent of trying to learn history from Age of Empires video games or Assassin's Creed. This is that's the equivalent right now. So it's kind of a struggle bus regardless of what I'm trying. All right, get my alchemic condenser. Oh yeah, buddy, didn't even consume the bucket. All right, so once you, like I said, bam, you got an alchemic condenser. Oh, you know what I'll do? Let's just fill this sucker up with more water. How much water does this take? 8? Alright, so 1, 2. Alright, and it's filled up. Easy. Now we're also going to need glass, which is coming from cooking a lot of sand in the kiln. So let's just get that cooked up as well. So what the condenser does, it creates in the game, like I said, I just spent like 20 minutes talking about, I don't know what the fuck a condenser does, but in the game it creates it's an alchemy timey-wimey magic shenanigans shit. It basically takes in fuel furnace inputs, takes in 2 inputs, or 3 technically if you count the glass bottle, and it spits out stuff that you need. So the big thing I want to do is make the Pams tropical gardens, or all the Pam's gardens. We thought it was kind of a cool recipe because one of the things we hated early on was always exploring for the gardens, and we wanted nutrition to be available early on because it's a nice early buff. And if you put like you know, like an elbow grease into it, because it's just nice manual, it's a nice relaxing thing in the early game. No one wants to take their time off and make a low powered food farm in the late game or middle, and it's just, I think it blends so nicely into the early game that's why we decided have the Pam's gardens, and look, they're craftable, so you don't have to go hunting for them forever. So you're gonna need 1 of each sapling. That's fine, and what sapling you throw in with an apple restoration will give you the garden that you're looking for. Speaking of apples, let's try and get those apples now, right? So I guess I wish I could show. Oh, look at that, 2 beef. Oh, RNGesus has blessed me today. 2 beef. I know some people tend to struggle with beef, but I guess when I had 6 ground traps running only for beef, it was pretty natural I would get one. But 1 trap to have 2 beef, shows you that, you know, fortune favors the bold. I don't know how I got an egg. Oh, I guess it does come from grain bait as well. Interesting. Okay, works for me. And we'll put the planks back in here. Sticks, sand. No, actually that's a lie. Sand should go back because I need to continuously get more glass shards. Bricks can go there. So the plan is to get apples. And it's like that good old Minecraft ADD. I was like, all right, guys, I'm gonna spend a minute talking about how I need to have apples, and then I'm gonna go put stuff in the kiln. That's how you lose focus. That's exactly 101, how not to play Minecraft. And the stone rods I don't need as well. I'm just trying to clean up my inventory before I start adding in these apples. And you also want to make a fair, if you also look, each apple of restoration requires an elixir. So we will need a fair amount of beef and a fair amount of elixir. So let's, there's, how many gardens are there? There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gardens total. We're actually not going to make an arid garden, even though it has a cactus, because the arid garden drops are pitiful. It's just like cactus fruit and cactus. So that's 5 gardens, plus the apple restoration we want to cure the villager with. So that's going to give us, we're looking for 6 chamomile, 6 beef, and 6 glass bottles. All right. And 6 apples. I had to tie that back to the apple because that's what we need. So let's get some more grain bait. The main reason I'm procrastinating on that apple right now is because, well, I'm not procrastinating, you're procrastinating. But really the main reason I'm procrastinating on the apple right now is because I'm trying to figure out a cool way to show you guys other than vein mining leaves for a long time. I mean, I guess I could just dump a bunch of leaves from EMC and smack that. But I think this is just growing some saplings could also give me the wood I need as well. So we'll try that instead. So I'm going to plant some of this and, well, actually, yeah, let's get the saplings now. All right, so we're going to be growing these. I'll let you guys know when I get 2 apples. All right, that's a weird looking tree. That's funky. Have you guys ever seen a tree like this before? Or maybe all trees are like that. That's such a weird tree. Okay, whatever. No apple. Damn it. You know what? I just realized something. Does anyone know if apples have a higher drop rate if you don't vein mine? Or does it matter? Because I swear to God in vanilla there was that apples should drop if you it's like what, 1 every 250 leaves, because I swear to God this is more than 250 leaves that I've spawned right now and have broken. So because also we do have a specialized drop script, drop the mod, also from the same dev as Artisan Work Tables. That's what adds the initial sticks to be dropping from leaves. But yeah, I'm just curious, like if I vein mine this, it's a bunch of sticks, a bunch of saplings, but no apples. I'm also feel like I'm just waiting for a large tree to spawn and ruin my day. Alright guys, we got an apple. Got 1. This 1 apple is actually kind of important because all I need is 2 to make apple sprouts. This apple sprout is actually designed to grow apples really quickly. Really quickly, like super fast. So once you get one of those, you know, you're in business. But until then, you're out of business. Guys, I found it. All right, so that's 2 apples, and now I'll really show you what I was talking about earlier. So if I'm gonna jam these oak saplings back in, let's make these apple sprouts. Apple sprouts are from cyclic or cyclic. I'm pretty sure it's cyclic though, because it's based on the word cyclical, except you just add the ul at the end, so you have cyclic. That's how I pronounce it. So let's just get ourselves like what, oak leaves? Let's get ourselves like about 10 of these, I think. So these leaves that you get from EMC are kind of equivalent to the ones that you shear and place down yourself. Or actually, when you place any player places down leaves, they should gain a specific NB metadata, right? So this one's like a meta or a check decay false, decayable false, right? Or it should be of a certain block state or meta. I don't know what the exact terminology is, that don't fade. And then you can stick yourself apple sprouts below it. These apple sprouts are also bone mealable, but you shouldn't really need to bone meal them because they grow at a pretty fast rate. And then yeah, I just like place 10 of them, and that's how I'm gonna get my apples from now on. So while we're waiting for these sprouts to get going, you know, get their body rocking, let's move on to, oh, and I get 3 bones. Oh man, I remember adding that to the quests, or I think Sarah added that. That was a nice touch, because waiting for the bones and the strainers was a pain for some players. Even though now it shouldn't be a problem for me now, because yeah, it's just getting bait. Oh wait, how is this interesting? That's funny. This ice never melted, so this was never actually running. Okay, and we're back again. So I think where I last left off was, ooh, a bone. You know what? Let me figure out what I was doing, and then I'll get back to you guys. Okay guys, now I remember what I was doing. So remember I was talking about apple sprouts earlier? Yes, they are now fully grown. And like I said, like, these are, once again, really easy to get them growing fast. In fact, I always want to explore, I wonder if they're bone mealable, right? Because they have a growth percentage in the one probe. Let's check if that's the case. I think what I want to do is I want to get the porcelain melter first. Let's make the porcelain melter, because I know that's one of the porcelain melter and the tank, because that's one of the big things you will be using it for. They'll be using bone meal, and if I have any excess bone meal, I'll toss that sucker into the apple sprouts. And I'm making these things out of order, just because, you know, I'm just looking at the quest book, trying to remind myself where I am in the progression, and what items I can work on, instead of, you know, waiting, because you don't, if you follow the quest book straight up, I guess you do get kind of just punished. But I mean, just like, use your head, man. Like, don't let the quest book be your head. Like, if you find that you're just waiting all the time for something, it's definitely not. We definitely tried to identify parts where there were potential slowdowns, and we made sure to at least offer you the ability to do something in the meantime. So if I recall correctly, getting the porcelain, that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's for the melter. The melter also requires 4 more porcelain, so that's 12 total. And if I recall, that's, yep, so that's 12 bone meal total. So in a 3x3 with the mortar, well, okay, I guess that works for me then. So that gives me 2 to try out in bone meal later on. Come on. And here we go. Time to cook these suckers. It's funny also because I can't even use the melter at all, but I might as well get this out of the way now. I still need lava, right, for it to be useful for me. But getting lava also shouldn't be that hard. What I do need is more apple restorations, which comes with apples. And look how fast, right? You can even check, once again, check on the timestamp. It gives me more apple sprouts and more apples. So once you get 2 apples, you should be good to go. You can also bone meal rustic apple trees. That was the other option that we had available to you guys. Or you can do this one. And now, as you see, I ruined it, right? Now all the rows are forming and taking shape, aside from that area over there, but I'm too lazy to walk over there. You're pretty much, I'm just gonna start filling out this farm. Okay, so let's get our brick, and let's also get our melter made, right? Yeah, get a kiln going as well. Interesting. Oh, it requires a little bit of lava. Oh, you got me good there. Well, I can't make that now, but I could definitely put it off to the side. So 4 of this and 4 of this. But I can make the porcelain tank now, so let's get that out of the way. And porcelain tank. Perfect. Next up on the menu. This is woven cloth, which is basically string, which we got going to cotton farm, rice slime, hardened leather, candleberry. Now, here's another good arcane ash recipe, candleberry seed. And I guess this is something that players do tend to miss quite often, is that we do give you guys candleberry seeds early on, mostly as a easy light source because they do feed into candles, and also for hardened leather. I guess a lot of people just got confused because they never bothered to look at the candleberry seed. I don't know. But I mean, it's just trawling through JEI. I don't think it's that big of a leap of logic for players to go through, but I'm willing to be wrong on that. So you do need rubber saplings, which, haha, I forgot, I don't really have. So it needs to be, if I recall, to get a rubber sapling, you need to arcane ash transform a spruce sapling, right? Oh, any sapling. Okay. So, oh, not any sapling, just an oak sapling, and also get ourselves a rice slime ball. Yes. Oh, I have some in my inventory. So get one of these and put you in there and put you in there. That should give us the rubber sapling, and then we can start growing stuff. So here's the thing, right? This was actually a recipe we had to sort of add, where you crush a rubber wood into sticky resin with a hammer, because players don't know that sticky resin actually drops from a rubber sapling, right? There's no JEI communication for that specifically, but they do know that rubber saplings grow into rubber wood, so they know they need to get a rubber sapling to get the wood, because that's, you know, it's normal mechanics. So that's why we added that recipe, so the players know to get the rubber wood, but they can just easily, once they cut it down, they'll see that they'll get saplings easily. Okay. That was really annoying, but right, see, saplings, sticky resin just comes down by the dozens. So that was one thing that we had to work around, because we figured that we would get endless questions about where the hell the sticky resin comes from. And also, if you're wondering, they're not like IC2 trees, they're more like MFR trees. You don't have to tree tap anything. I thought the tree tap thing was kind of cool, but it kind of got annoying after a while. I think in the end, it's a good thing that that mechanic just kind of got retired. Only IC2 really uses that, because I really don't think that mechanic adds much. And plus that there's not a lot of really good ways to automate it. You have to find something that searches the trees, so the closest would be like the forestry farm, right? The forestry rubber farm, rubber plantation, if I recall correctly. I think I'll reserve all of this for cotton, because cotton's a big one. Cotton's one that you're going to be farming a lot of. You're going to want a good cotton plantation going, just because string is kind of valuable, has multiple uses. Alright, so we got the tallow, and now this tallow can finally be used to get ourselves our first candleberry. Well, once we get the canola. So canola seeds there, and tallow. This will get us our first candleberry, and we can actually I can now show you the cool little trick you can do with I can show you the cool little trick you could do with plant balls. In fact, I was also waiting for cotton as well, but I'll split this up. I'll do half cotton, half candleberry at the back here. So let's get rid of the rice here, right? Let's move the rice to this area, and now we'll have candleberry here. Let's also get that hoe back. It's funny, I remember adding that early gravel recipe for you can melt gravel inside or you could cook gravel inside the kiln, and that'll give you a higher flint recipe. But you know, once again, even in this small little case, we still underestimated the power of EMC, and in hindsight, that recipe really just adds nothing. Where you cook the gravel, then you hammer it, just because it's just much easier to just get leaves, get a bunch of EMC, and get gravel that way. Okay, so I have that down. Let's also we'll return the gravel here. And I have enough apples. So now I'm just waiting on these elixirs, which is going to require a fair amount of beef. Oh yeah, now I remember what I was doing. I was trying to get Yes, I was making a bunch of bait for that. That's what I was doing. It all makes sense now. Extra twine, extra wheat. Yeah. Oh, wow. After all that, I still didn't have enough twine. Okay, I see you. So that's 16, so I'll need 38 twine. So, or no, this is 48 twine. 48 twine times 3 is, oh, come on, quick math. That's 48, 96 plus 40. Oh, that's just 50 times 3 minus 6. That's 144. So, oh, I just realized I had a stack of twine here that I ignored and didn't use earlier. Oh, that's dumb. That was, oh, damn. I had more than enough twine. Damn it. Okay, whatever. All right, so now what we're going to do is start dumping away grain in here. Let's just put half a stack in each now that we know we have grain for days. And like I said, these apples come in spades, right? Like once you get these apple sprouts going, in fact, it's almost kind of a problem because you don't know, like, they keep dropping apple sprouts and you don't need apple sprouts at that point. Should have given. Ooh. Perfect. Oh, and we're getting the bones. Oh, you know, here's what we'll do. Let's put planks in here. Shears back where they belong. You can go inside the generic tool chest. And we'll shove all these in. We'll gather up all these and we'll put them inside the agricultural chests. Back. Who put stone rods in my wood chest? Alright. Got glass shards as well. Got glass. Alright, everything's looking up good. So, I think that should clear me out. Oh, weird. It still didn't say I completed the affinity dust rest. I'll do that later. Whatever. So now that I have this, I need to get the last elixir of instant health, which I was just waiting on the beef for. And now that I have a sizable amount of beef, or not really sizable, it's just 4, but that's sizable enough for me. Is that how I pronounce it? Is it chamomile? Chamomile? Maybe it's chamomile. That's something I should probably look up after. And now we just feed it. We can feed it spruce wood planks, or I can also just feed it low-grade charcoal. Let's just go with the low-grade charcoal. All right. Also, if you haven't noticed, or if you're playing earlier, we actually significantly nerfed low-grade charcoal. That had a really high burn time. It was like 1 low-grade charcoal ended up being like 4 pieces of charcoal overall. So 4 pieces of normal charcoal. So it kind of defeated the purpose of being low-grade. Oh, yes, sweet, sweet elixir. So it's funny. I've seen some players actually use elixirs of instant health to make multiple ones. That's intended. That's fine. But if you don't make like a stack of these. I've seen some people, they're just really nervous about the overworld. They end up making a stack. I felt so bad. I'm just like, wow, I didn't mean to scare them that much. But I mean, at the we didn't want to handhold players because there is better, like if they just look at the condenser, what the condenser can do. And that's the thing, right? We want to walk you through like the first steps of the condenser. But if you just look at the condenser itself, there are way better recipes down the line. Once you get cohosh and honeycombs, you get elixir of regenerations. And that's so easy. You just find a rustic AP, or you find a beehive in the overworld and cohosh in the overworld. And both of these can be easily automated and mass produced. And you get yourself easy elixir regeneration. It just requires you to look at the next recipe over. Some players just don't do that. They'll just look at simple alchemy, pass it over, and assume that elixir of instant health or that really crappy healing salves is the only way to heal. And no, there's plenty of options. We give you these options, but we're not going to like throw them in your face. That's not the quest book. You're not supposed to be relying on us for that. You're relying on yourself to solve these problems for you. Now, that sounded like hella preachy. But I mean, that's, you know, it can't help but not get preachy at this point because they're just complaints about like, oh, there's not enough healing. Like, no, you got hella options, man. Options everywhere. Oh yeah, so the next thing I was saying is that we should also work on plant balls. Plant balls are, oh man, you're lucky I didn't spend the whole entire first episode just talking about plant balls day in, day out, because let me tell you about plant balls. I love balls, especially if they're plant balls. So coagulated plant balls are, I think, very powerful. One of the most powerful starter items that you can get. Yeah, just get some water, and this thing takes any Minecraft, anything that Ordix would plant, right? Or dictionary plant. And it's funny, it's weird because if you have normal or dictionaries, it says accepts all quote-unquote plant, but for some reason that doesn't show up inside the basic work table. But guarantee you grass is part of plant, and the recipe should work if I throw in plant balls. 1 2 3 4, and we're gonna mishmash them up. Coagulated plant balls. Here's what I'm gonna do though. Let's get some ice, and we're gonna fill this up. How big is the tank again? 8 buckets. Why does everything starting on have 8 buckets? Is that like, was that because it's a binary number? Like it's like 2 squared, and it also, I don't know, it's like, it's, what happens, what do you call the square root of a square root? Is that like the third root or something? Well, is it the third root of 2? I don't know. I feel like I should know what that is, but it's been a while since I bothered doing anything. Ooh, you could put this on anvil. It's been a while since I bothered with anything relating powers in life or work. Okay, well anyways, that's what plant balls do. It multiplies and copies the tile bush, which is why when you're making the Pam's Harvest Craft gardens, you only need to make one of each garden. Then you can just right click on plant balls to copy it. So, and what it does is looks for like compatible places where it can plant the, oh, you know what? Let's try something out. Can this actually copy the apple sprouts? And by the magic of plant balls. What just happened? Oh, that's sick nasty. Oh no, so when it gets a block update, it'll probably check itself that, oh, am I allowed to grow here? Wait, no, these are growing. Okay, yeah, so I guess it just realizes it can't grow into breaks. Alright, that's fine. But it does copy them. So early on, once you get your first 2 apple sprouts, if you don't want to wait, you could easily get more apple sprouts. But like I said before, these things are... Oh, they also have the Ordic plant to them too, so you can use these to make more plant balls. It's a crazy bally world out there. But as I'm saying, you kind of want a lot of candleberries for the wax. Not as much as you want cotton. Cotton you want a lot of. In fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these. But you do want a fair amount because you can get candles early on. And candles is a nice source of lighting. When you get to the overworld, you can also use mineral torches if you don't like the look of candles. You probably aren't going to get normal torches yet. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Cotton me up. Oh, and also if you don't, look at that. Look at that. You could also do is you could vein mine all the cotton. That's a lot of cotton. But you can vein mine all the cotton. Put 1 down to maximize how many stems of for each one you get. And this is actually more effective on certain Pam's Harvest Craft fruits than bone meal, right? Because look how much one plant ball gave. It gave like 4 to 5 cotton. So early on, if you were like a big fan of using apatite to make fertilizer early on in expert packs that had forestry in it, this kind of serves that similar purpose. Just make a stack of these and you can make a lot of food. I myself just would rather have it grow passively, but you know, the world is your oyster or your plant ball, depending on how you look at it. And you also get a lot of chicken too. So your protein that you need to worry about early on in the game shouldn't be a problem, especially if you're very interested in nutrition. It really just depends on how much effort you want to put into it. But this should give me the last 2. Damn it. Damn it, I shouldn't have jumped. But this should give me the last 2 potions that I needed. Okay. More glass. In fact, it is a bit weird when you use the Alchemy Condenser to do the crafting because it takes a glass bottle input. So for it to output an item stack that doesn't have any relationship to a glass bottle is a bit weird, right? Like you take the spruce sapling, you throw in an apple restoration, and it somehow eats a glass bottle, and you get a garden. The glass bottle just dissipates. You know, just don't ask questions. It's magic, man. So let's get these 4 apples. Well, it should be 5. You know what I just realized, guys, after making these gardens? I should actually make an arid garden, even though I was voiding it, because as part of the quest, it actually gives you a sprinkler. So, even though I don't need to speed up my crops right now, it's still, you know, it still would be a nice kind of addition to have in the pack, right? Or nice addition to have in the future when I do decide to move to the overworld. So let's actually get that acacia sapling. Oh, and I just need that last beef, right? Because then I can go and cure the villager. You know what? Oh, there we go. Found you, buddy. You thought you could hide from me, but my trap got you. Oh boy, I feel like... Oh, here we go. And I yeeted that wheat. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? And I mean, like, see how the 6 ground traps are now just paying off? And imagine if I just automated the bait. I would be rolling in all the protein, right? Just so much chicken, so much leather, a lot of eggs. So you do have a lot of options. And it's so much that, you know, I don't need to go into full-scale automation now. I could just do a large batch craft and not worry about it for a while. That's basically my approach, really, at least for the early part of this pack, for the early part. Now, so that's the pressed wax, and now woven cloth, which is basically string. That's salt. Why is... Oh, because it's searching the tooltip. That's funny. That's super funny. Yep, so it's just 2 pieces of string. And I think I need 4 pieces of woven cloth for the mitts. Let's check that out. Yes, and then the hardened leather, that's just 1. And then the rice slime ball, which is basically rice here. Mitts. So, funny story about the mitts. These are actually inspired from Greg Tech New Horizons. There was... You had to make pizza gloves in order to hold a hot lava bucket. And I thought that was just a really funny mechanic, because you are holding hot lava in your hands with, like, absolutely no protection at all. What this does later on, though, is it's not all, like, debuffs, right? Because later on, and which was, I think the fault of the Greg Tech New Horizons implementation was that it was only there and there was no rewards. Later on is that Buzz geniusly expanded upon other effects. So if you look at like a steam bucket, which is a gas, or anything that's really a gas, it says it's too light to handle instead of too hot to handle. So what do gases do? Gases prevent you from gases fly up. So if you have a steam bucket in your hand, or a valid steam container, you'll start flying away unless you have the mitts. So that's like weird, right? Because it still protects you from the effects, but it's kind of weird that a mitt is anchoring you down to the ground. I know it's like in that, and I like that because it's that weird, quirky Minecraft way. At least I like it because it's weird and quirky. And the same thing with too cold to handle. If you hold something that's too cold in a fluid container, it will actually slow you down. So if you have like a bucket of, I think Starlight's the most common example that we could do. It's too cold to handle. It'll give you, you know, slowness effects and blindness effects. Overall, the mitt is just held in your offhand, and it also, and another thing too is that later on, when you're holding, when you need a vacuum freezer to start cooling down your hot ingots that you have from your Greg Tech production, those normally burn you. And in fact, it's funny, there's nothing in base Greg Tech Community Edition that prevents the burning. I think this was implemented as a way to encourage players to just automate the input-output instead of just taking it by hand from the vacuum freezer. But in case you do need protection because you want to do like a small batch craft in the future, mitts got your back. Okay. Now that we have that, let's work on the next part, which is the Philosopher's Stone and summoning the villagers. So let's get the Zen summoning altar up, right? Which isn't that bad, but let me bookmark this. Also, before this was I don't know, team, if you're watching this, so if you look at Zen summoning on CurseForge, you'll see this weird ass yum texture. That texture that you see that's on the project description, that literally was the texture of the block in game. It was like this weird ass ender portal block that was color shifted. So instead of green and yellow, it was purple and dark blue, and it had yum written on it, like YUM. It was fucking horrendous. I didn't want to tell Teamy. I was actually kind of annoyed at it, really annoyed at it, but I was kind of hinting like, hey, Teamy, can you like get a better texture for it, please? It got to the point where I was actually offering artists to come up with models because I didn't want to, I didn't want to, I don't know if Sarah cared. I think Sarah just thought it was funny and was cool with it. But for me personally, I was just like, I do not want to, I don't want to release a pack with this fucking awful texture on it. So I was looking to pay artists to get a better texture. And then when I told Teamy this, Teamy realized, and then I guess communication, right? You should just be upfront with your code devs. Teamy realized how much like I was annoyed by it, and thank God he downloaded Blockbench, filled it with it a little bit, and came up with the new model, which I'll show you once I craft it. But yeah, man, I was so mad. I was just like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to put this garbage texture and garbage mod in the pack. Oh my god. And I'm just, and it's funny. I'm laughing about the story now because because it got changed. If it didn't get changed, I would not be laughing about it. In fact, I would still be mad and salty and probably ranting. So, ooh, thank God dodged that one. I'm getting so heated talking about this. I'm literally like started sweating in my in my seat just recalling the story because I was just like so annoyed. Okay, so I got the string. I replanted it. Maybe next time I think I'll just right click harvest everything anyway, because if I'm gonna be walking throughout the farm replanting, I might as well just right click and save myself the trouble. Alright, so I have the string. I have more than enough string actually, and now let's just go get the book. One thing you'll probably notice in this pack if you've been playing it for a while is that you'll also probably just have a constantly full inventory. Yep, that's intended. Gotta have better inventory management skills, son. And that's one thing I've always found interesting about modern Minecraft though, is that packs get bigger and bigger, and you know, more items get added to the game, but there aren't really that many things early on done to help alleviate the player of that bloat problem. So it's especially exacerbated early on, before players get, you know, satchels and stuff, or alternative storage, where their inventory just gets crammed to death. And even vanilla chests, right, if they don't have better storage. This is, we thought about this early in development, and we realized that, you know, okay, so we'll see how late we could push satchels, and you actually do get satchels pretty early. Once you hit the overworld, you get extended storage, and that's also partially the reasoning why we have this recipe where you get the holding 4, where if you just combine multiple satchels together, you don't even need to what's the best way to describe it? Need an enchantment table, right? You just get yourself your first starter tin, some leather, and you're good to go. That's all we really ask of you. And I need the saw here. Look at that. How long has it been since I last bitched about needing a saw? Not since I made that water powered saw. Did I put one here already? If I right click this here, does it show? Oh, so there's like no hidden inventory. Oh, damn it. I did right click. Damn it. How do I take an item out? I can't. Okay, well, RIP. I did right-click covalence in there. Damn it, I just forgot about it. I mean, I don't know why I'm swearing so much. It's really not that big of a deal. Let's also make another apple restoration for our dearly beloved villager. And now we're going to store the rest of... How do you like these apples? Into the agriculture chest. Alright, so now this is the new, beautiful... bountiful altar that Teamy made. Much better. I mean, it's an altar on the ground. It looks more like of a ritual circle than an altar, right? Because you'd think an altar would be a little bit more raised, or be like a 1 block height. But I mean, I'm not complaining, right? This looks, as minimalistic as it is by far leagues and away much better than the original implementation. Thank God. Oh dear God. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to summon the villager, which is And by the way, this was Zen summoning was made early on because we were trying to figure out, oh, like we want to summon a villager. How hard is it to summon a villager? And also another alternate way to summon bosses later down in the pack. Because we originally had a mod called From the Depths to do all the summoning from us. It was a buggy piece of shit. It never did what it was supposed to do. So in the end, we decided to scrap it. And it was just, it was easier and it was so inactive that I think the dev wasn't responding to us. Or they were responding and they were making false promises to fix certain things. We're just like, screw it, we have the means. We're just going to team me here. It's simple. You just need to bring an entity into this world. How hard can it be? Why is your mod crashing just by bringing in entities into the world? So in the end, we Teamy was oh, did I break this? Oh, it's a hoe. In the end, Teamy just made the mod. And nice thing is that Teamy's been doing slow improvements to it. So now if you want to actually summon a zombie villager with Zen summoning, he had JEI integration done with egg. So it's a bone shard, which is just saw bone, right? You get a normal bone. You get devil dust, which is covalence dust and a fire. 2 leather. And I don't know what parts of a villager constitute the leather. Maybe it's the clothing. Maybe villagers are born with their clothing. And once again, the raw beef strikes. So let's get the raw beef. Oh, you know what? I even forgot. Players were having such a hard time getting raw beef. I don't know, maybe because they had like a suboptimal trap setup. We actually added a raw chicken into beef covalence alchemy array. We didn't think it was too busted, but to be honest, yeah, I just never thought that players would have that much trouble because you saw like how fast the beef came. It was like 7 to 8 beef. It was pretty easy. Okay, so now let's get the bone. Yeah. And even the bone too. We had to increase the bone drops from the fisherman's trainer because we thought that would be the majority source of bones for players. Actually, sorry, we thought the ground traps would be the majority source of bones for players, but apparently that didn't work out for most players. So, and we found that a lot of players were just going to the fisherman's trainer and just vein mining dirt for the bait. I mean, it's not a big deal either way. It's just, you know, you try to predict. You think you know what the optimal route is, and you think that everyone usually would eventually find that optimal route. But, you know, it's just players of different levels of experience. It's important to play test, and that's how we ended up that, okay, these are little minor tweaks that we added so that players can actually not get stuck waiting all the time. And they have 2 options. They can either now go to the ground traps. If they're not familiar with that, they can also go to the strainer, which is nice and simple. Because, I mean, strainer is literally put strainer, run water, wait. Right? Like, you can't get any more dumb than that. Whereas the ground traps, once again, have that weird 8-block detection, 2 blocks away jank algorithm with it. Alright, so let's go here. So 2 bone shards, and it's just easy. It's very simple. You just right click the required items into the Zen summoning altar, and it actually if you notice, it kind of rotates around. This was actually my request to Teamy. It was just like, oh yeah, just make it rotate like how the oh, I did that wrong. I was like, make it how the Botania altar does it. That was the runic altar. I don't know why it took me so long to remember that. But yeah, it's literally just like, you know, just copy the rotational like code that the Botania runic altar does. So that's why it kind of looks like that. Although, and the nice cool thing is here, you can't see it. When I right click this, how did I do it again? Altar doesn't know what you desire. I'm missing something. Oh, devil dust. Derpy derp. This is such a natural thing in Minecraft. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's not in vanilla. You can cook with fire. Throw an item into fire, and depending on the item, it'll either get destroyed or it'll end up getting cooked. I was always surprised that was never like included as part of vanilla. Or maybe there should also be that crafting recipe, right, where you throw an item to lava, it gets destroyed. Fine, that makes sense. If you throw an item to cactus, it gets destroyed. That makes a little bit of sense. But what happens if someone adds a mod where you throw an item into cactus and it becomes something else? I think I think that's kind of funny to me. So yeah, once you have all the ingredients set in the proper amounts, you just right click it with the middle catalyst. the bone here. Bam. And this is what I like. I like this touch where it rises up before the... Oh, shoot. Oh, boy. I just got owned pretty badly, huh? Okay. So, sorry, I apologize. That's a little loud. I meant to close that. I was too busy admiring TV's goddamn special effects to notice what happened. Two things while we're waiting up here. First off, you see this zombie has 146 HP and a bunch of buffs. That's because players would summon it with an open sky and then the villager would just die and burn. Let me turn this off actually, this sounds, so I'm not like talking over a dead zombie. So we increased it so like players wouldn't feel bad because, you know, you're not really thinking when you summon a zombie he's going to burn right away. That's why he has 150. You're not meant to kill him. You're meant to cure him, for Christ's sakes. Second of all, then we added buffs because Sareth was sadistic and he thought it would be funny to add buffs if a player wasn't careless and didn't really trap the zombie effectively. Are you curing yet? I want to know if he lost his... Nope, there we go. Okay. Oh my god, no, he's gonna be... No, he's destroying my crops. I don't want to kill him. That's so annoying. I feel bad. Another thing I wanted to bring up was that this route, we really like the idea where a player had to, you know, like cure a villager as a way to get to the next they had to cure the villager as a way to, you know, they had to solve that problem before they get to the next I'm having a hard time coming up with words right now. Before they get into overworld. Like, I thought that was a great idea too, and then I played it and I kind of got uncomfortable with the idea that you had to cure a villager, cure, like, you know, this NPC. I'm not trying to get all sappy, but then another beta tester brought it up that she was kind of like turned off with the idea of curing something, especially it's called Lost Soul, just so that it just gets murdered. Like, that just kind of leaves a bad feeling in my mouth, and I brought it up, and needless to say, we had a very interesting discussion about it. It was a lot of back and forth. I wanted to find an alternative route, or at least try working on an alternative route, because, you know, it just feels bad killing that dude, even though you need his heart for the Philosopher's Stone. What ended up happening was we ended up having a secret pacifist route. It's not really secret anymore, but villagers, what happens if villagers are just chilling, they'll end up shedding emeralds for a while. Oop, here we go. We got my Philo Stone. But yeah, so they'll end up shedding emeralds, right? And the nice thing about the emerald shedding is that you can use these emerald shards, and it does jack all, really. You can, I don't know why players are making some huge emerald farms with villagers. It really doesn't do much because they'll just drop like an emerald nugget. You can combine that into emerald, and then you could technically use that to get your starter tools, right? Like once you find some iron in the overworld, you can start making yourself some decent Greg Tech tools. But I mean, honestly, like wrought iron is also just like a little bit worse and just as easy to get. But I mean, players are still deciding that anyway. But going back, it was just like, you know, if that, I didn't want to turn off anyone, and it was such a low thing to add. Like, it was such a, the upside was, I think, in my opinion, much higher than the effort of putting it in, right? The relative upside versus relative effort. That's why I wanted to add in an alternative route. And we came up with several ideas, like, oh, how about this? They'll just capture the villager instead, right? So you will give them access to a morb, and that's also nice because players, when they get to the overworld, they can use that morb to bring animals back to their void world base, because at the time there wasn't a patch yet in dimensional control, which is what we use for portals, to transfer entities through the portals, but that's been fixed since then. So that was one approach we wanted to take. In the end, we decided that the leather shedding one was probably like, or the emerald shedding one was probably the coolest idea. And also because it's just patience, right? You just wait. It is, we were kind of concerned a little bit about balance, but once again, we just we realized that emeralds just do jack shit in this pack. I don't know. I'm ready to eat those words. Maybe emeralds will do much more than that. Okay, so now that I got the philo stone, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off here because editing these videos suck. And then what I'm going to do is probably next episode we'll get to the overworld, we'll do some additional exploration, and probably talk about more of my workflow later on.